Super Bowl champion. We turn to our teammate on Unsportsmanlike. 5-7 right here on ESPN 1000 is the great Chris Canty. He joins us here on Kap and J Hood. Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing good. I actually feel like I'm fortunate because I'm the only member of my show that has been banned from your show. So I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on, fellas.
The unbanned double C. That's correct.
Yeah. Now, there has been a request made by one Michelle Smallman who's getting ready to kick off her NFL Bachelorette tomorrow. She's going to pick the top 6 teams that she thinks are finalists for her NFL fandom because, you know, the once upon a time St. Louis Rams were ripped from her. So she would like you guys to unban her from the show and from the station because the Chicago Bears may or may not be in her top 6 to potentially get a rose.
Well, I love Michelle Smallman. She's the homie. I did not ban her. That was a cap ban. But since I'm part of the show, it's nothing I could do about it. I didn't have veto power, Chris. So, Michelle Smallman's always welcome for me.
Okay.
If you can assure us we're going to be in that 16, the ban will be lifted.
I will pass that information along. I can make no guarantees or assurances, but I will pass the message along to Michelle Smallman, and we'll find out tomorrow whether or not she's going to be a part of, you guys' show moving forward.
Okay, well, you're our accountability partner, so you got to make sure that happens, Chris.
All right, I got you.
So that's the whole thing. Listen, there's a lot of excitement about what the Bears could be. We played your thoughts from a couple of days ago regarding San Francisco, Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas, and Philly being 5 teams that you believe that can make the playoffs and that the Bears are not as good as. But you feel like the Bears are in that next 5. Why is that?
Well, I just think that we don't have enough proof of concept to go ahead and vault the Bears over those other 5 teams that I mentioned before. But here's the deal. I think the teams at the top of the NFC East are poised to regress somewhat. I mean, when you look at the San Francisco 49ers schedule, it's absolutely brutal. They have a huge rest disadvantage in comparison to some of their upcoming opponents on the slate. I mean, you think about it, in 8 of the games that they played this upcoming season, they have a rest disadvantage. So, I mean, I can see a little bit of slippage there as well. I mean, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers is kind of self-explanatory based on how those 2 teams finished last year. But, yeah, I think that the Chicago Bears are going to be firmly in the mix to be a playoff team. And just depending on how quickly we see Caleb Williams take control of his team and really evolve as a player, I just think that the Chicago Bears could absolutely make some noise in terms of contending for an NFC North title.
So Tom Brady came out yesterday and said I think he used the word tragedy that we force these rookie quarterbacks to play so quickly and we dumb down the offense. You're a Super Bowl winner. Do you agree with Tom? Do you feel like, yes, we have dumbed the offense down, take the snap, get the ball out fast. We don't let them develop, where Tom said, I was the 7th stringer at Michigan. I worked my way to the 3rd. I eventually became a starter. I was there for 5 years. Then I sat in the NFL, and when I was ready to play, I got my chance, and I did it. What do you say?
Well, with respect to the GOAT, I would say it's not a one-size-fits-all. There are some quarterbacks that are ready to step in and play early and develop properly. I mean, you look at one of my former teammates, Joe Flacco, in his rookie year had a team in the conference championship game. He eventually went on to win a Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's not as if, a rookie can't step in and the team has success and the rookie developed properly. I don't think that a rookie playing early is an impediment to his development. Now, that being said, we don't see a lot of situations that are, right to properly support a rookie quarterback, especially where you have to draft these guys in order to get him in today's game. Think about it. If you're a highly touted prospect, you're going to get drafted to, what amounts to be one of the worst teams in the league. Now, the Chicago Bears just so happen to have an outlier situation because they own the Carolina Panthers' first-round pick, which ended up being the number 1 overall pick. I would say that Caleb Williams playing early is not a bad thing in terms of his development just because he's stepping into the best situation that we've ever seen a number 1 overall pick step into. He's going to be supported properly. They had the best defensive football in the second half of last year. The organization, Ryan Poles, they went out and got him a glut of weapons. I mean, Keenan Allen, that was a smart trade by him. They had DJ Moore, extended him this offseason. Then he drafted Rome Odunze. You got Cole Kmet. You went out and signed Gerald Everett. And then, of course, you got DeAndre Swift. They got the pieces to properly support Caleb Williams. So I just think that when it comes to this specific situation, you can't apply the logic that Tom Brady is trying to discuss when it comes to young quarterbacks having to play early.
Chris Canty on Sportsmanlike 5 to 7 right here on ESPN 1000 and streaming on the ESPN Chicago app before our show, Kap and J Hood. Chris, I need your help about the Bears defense because along with the Caleb Williams hype and the conversation, I have a keen eye on this defense. Like I feel good about the secondary, feel good about the linebackers, but I'm wondering what this defense can do as far as a pass rush outside of Montez Sweat. Not negatives, but I think they're question marks. As is with a DeMarcus Walker on the other side, Dexter Billings, can this defense be able to have the same push as they did toward the end of the season as far as being opportunistic to the quarterback?
Well, you know what my coach used to say all the time, you got to earn the right to rush the passer. And that means that you got to stop teams on first and second down, being able to run the football and stay on schedule. It's hard to pass rush on 2nd and 4 or 3rd and 2. So I think the answer to that question will be how adept that defensive front is at being able to make offenses one-dimensional, especially on earlier downs and distances. If they can do that, then absolutely they'll be able to heat up the opposing quarterbacks with the guys that they got across that defensive front.
So we started this show today. I talked to a guy who played more than 10 years in the National Football League. He's sitting there with the All-22 yesterday from the Bengals game. And he calls me. He's like, dude, I was listening to you, Hood, this morning. He goes, and you're leading the hype train. You're the conductor. Caleb's the guy. Here we go. Blah, blah, blah. He said there were moments that Justin made plays and made a throw where you went, wow, awesome. There were a 6 TD game from Mitchell Trubisky. Jay Cutler had multiple games where you went, wow, look at that arm. He said Rex Grossman, the first month of the season the Bears lost to the Colts in the Super Bowl, people were calling him the MVP. He said, can you pump the brakes? I said, absolutely not. He said, why? I said, because my judgment, like all Bears fans, is colored. I know how Rex turned out. I know how Mitch turned out. I know Jay was 52 and 52 as the Bears quarterback, the epitome of mediocrity. Justin got us a 6th-round draft pick. I know how those turned out. We have hope, and my eyes tell me this kid's different. Do you agree with me or with him?
Yeah, I think this kid is different. I mean, listen, it didn't start out the way that you would want it to in the second preseason game against the Bengals, 3 consecutive 3-and-outs. I mean, that's abysmal. But the fact that they were able to capitalize on the sudden change, get points out of that, and then they were able to score the touchdown right before the 2-minute and included an explosive play in that drive, I think there's a lot to like when it comes to how Caleb Williams goes about his business in the natural playmaking. I think the biggest thing for him is because he is so talented, being able to play within the structure of the scheme, being able to hit your back foot at the top of the pocket and go through your progression and get the ball out on time. I think that's the thing, making the routine look routine. If he can do that, then I think he avoids a lot of turnover-worthy plays, and you sprinkle in a little bit of the off-schedule second reaction stuff, and you got the makings of something that can be really special. What gives me confidence that this will be different for Caleb Williams as opposed to those other Bears quarterbacks is who they've surrounded him with. When you go out and you get veteran players like they got in the receiver room with Keelan Allen and DJ Moore, that matters. When you go get a guy like DeAndre Swift who's coming from the Philadelphia Eagles, that matters in the success that he was able to have. So Gerald Everett, the same thing. When you can flank him with guys that have had success in this league and been around successful quarterbacks, it just presents another person, another voice outside of the coaching staff that can come to the aid of the young quarterback if and when he has questions about how he has to go about his business.
Chris, what's Evan Cohen like?
Great question.
Oh, my God. I don't know if we have enough time to describe what Evan Cohen is like. I would just say this.
We do.
To know Evan Cohen is an adventure. Like, there's always going to be something. He's always going to have some kind of quirky anecdote to come into the studio to start the show with to catch you off guard. He's a great guy, consummate professional, a hard worker. But, I mean, I got to be honest with you. Evan is known to throw you some curveballs here and there. So, like, he's a guy that always keeps you guessing. But, I love the guy to death.
Just wondering, you're regimented because you're used to a format. You're a player, and you are forward thinking. And then Evan comes in with something weird, and it's kind of got to be like, man, this is not on our format. What is he talking about? That's at least that's how the show sounds to me sometimes. He just comes out with stuff out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, he does. And like I said, he catches you off guard. You don't know what to do with it. Kind of like when I had no idea that he had a pet cemetery in his front yard. Neither did he until a couple of weeks ago. But like coming out with something like that, you're always going to be thrown a curveball with Evan Cohen, and you just got to know to expect the unexpected.
Hey, before we let you go, there was so much in Chicago. We're upgrading quarterback. We're upgrading receivers. We're doing this. They got to upgrade the head coach. And then Gerald Everett yesterday. I talked to Mercedes Lewis the other day, and he said, dude, you guys have no idea what it's like playing for Eberflus. He's great in front of the team. He holds us accountable. He's a good dude to play for, and we like playing for this man. Have we all misjudged Matt Eberflus?
Oh, no doubt. I don't know that any head coach around the National Football League has had the same kind of glow up this offseason that Coach Flus has had. And so I guess it must be the beard, going with the bearded look as opposed to being clean shaved. I don't know what it is, but I guess, the players like it, his wife likes it, all's well when it comes to the Chicago Bears and how everybody in that building feels about their head coach. But I think the part where it started to change for me was in the middle of last year. They traded for Montez Sweat. They got him that edge rusher to be able to implement his defense. And from there, you're talking about a defense that was tops when it came to efficiency, EPA, takeaway, scoring, all of those different categories. And so when a head coach can show proficiency on his side of the ball, the area of his expertise, I think that gives everybody in the building a belief or proof of concept that this guy can actually get it done. And so I think they've utilized that momentum, coupled with the fact that they had the #1 overall pick in a year where there was a generational talent at the quarterback spot, which Chicago Bears organization and the fan base have been desert thirsty for. So they got all of those things going for them. And I think they're rallying around Coach Eberflus, who a lot of people feel like was unfairly put on the hot seat because he was dealt an impossible hand.
It is our pleasure, Chris Canty. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Gentlemen, I appreciate it, and I will relay the message to Michelle Smallman. Hopefully, we can get her ban lifted from ESPN 1000.
We can work on that. We're more than willing to be fair.
Yes. Enjoy your rated G. Enjoy your rated G Hard Knocks tonight. It's going to be outstanding.
All right, later on.
Chris Canty with us here. The Kap and J Hood cut of the day next on Kap and J.